talking about for my birthday week then?
Cake. Let's talk about cake. Ooh, ooh. We talk about cake a lot, but we do it in the context of supporting each other in victories and wins and positivity and stuff that is good.
I mean, yeah, we do.
Tony really hates. So we work with Tony. Tony's a part of the setting up shop group that we're in, and so Max and I don't live that far from each other, so we don't see each other all that often. But we kind of make a point that we will go and have lunch, or we will do something collectively that we enjoy the day that we see each other. But we always like to send cake and food to Tony just to spite him.
Yeah. And
It's so much
it's
fun.
all because so we had this like we did the 10 things we wish we knew before we started our business, which we're gonna have to link to the
Yeah.
free resource with the video. But one of the things that came up then was the importance of celebrating your wins. And I think Tony asked us like, so Louisa, how do you celebrate? And you just went cake.
We had not even prepared for what we would say with it, because we were trying. This is part of my evolution of videoing, was to not preempt every single thing by having an answer that is like documented. And I would get really stressed by videos because I would feel like I was so underprepared. So now
Look
we're
at
like,
how far
look
we've
how we
come.
make.
We're having a spontaneous conversation about cake.
But it just came out, and you both kind of went. But we base an entire program around cake. We've got a
Cake.
podcast about cake. Like we are it is a mechanism to explain the joy that I get from like a good Victoria sponge. Oh my God. Like, and I can't get them anymore because I don't live in the UK, and
Now
I
you can get
will
it
have
on
to.
post.
I know. A nice tompouce. I have to try to learn how to make a proper Victoria sponge. I think I've sort of, my grandmother was an extremely good baker. So she was a
Mhm.
part of the Country Women's Association in Australia, and they were like one of the best bakers in Australia, I could say. I think a lot of people would support me on that country women in Australia baked, you know, shit out of stuff. It was so good. And and so she would make sponge cake, and she was an expert in pavlova, to which I'm doing a project where I'm interviewing people back home. And
Yes.
someone happened to mention that my grandmother, like I'd never met this woman before, but her mother and my grandmother were good friends. And she said, "Oh my God, your grandmother made the best pavlova in the district. We were all so jealous of how moist it was." I was like, seriously?
That's a difficult thing to create. To be honest,
Apparently,
they can be quite awful.
yeah. And apparently, my grandmother had this thing where she could make the inside of it still that little moist, and the outside would be like a meringue. And they said no one could do it except her. People were so jealous, and so all the men would love to go up to the house for afternoon
Sure,
tea and
sure.
ours, because they get these amazing pavlovas and sponge cakes and things. And
Well, at least we know where your obsession with cake comes from.
yeah, and my mum was a very good baker as well. And I was so disappointed. I was at home in Australia, and I was trying to find the recipe book that mum had, and it had all her handwritten notes. Pages were falling apart. It had like orange stains on it. It had flour in it. It was this. I don't know where. I don't know if it's gone out. She might have just gone, "It's too old," but it had like the ounce recipes. Put 3 ounces of this, and half a block of butter or something, which went into everything we
Of
ate.
course, half a
But
block of butter goes into everything.
but I
That's what
I
makes it good.
but because we lived rurally, so our school was like about an hour's drive from our house, and you'd get back from school and you'd be absolutely starving, and mum would always have something ready for us. It might be pikelets, it might be pancakes, it might be a cake. And I remember that it was always a joy, because you'd sort of be tired and then you'd get fed. It was just, and it'd be pre-dinner food. So, we always had something for afternoon tea. And it was, I don't know whether I've consciously carried this, but I've never talked about that element into my love of cake, actually. But I think it's
Well,
because it was a
this
good
is what we
moment.
call accidental therapy.
But bloody good cake. So I tell you what, my mum made the meanest orange cake, and it was full of bad stuff that was delicious. And I wish people would bring back some of that bad cooking too, because you wouldn't have a lot of it, but my God, it was good stuff. Bet you have one as well that you had when you were younger that you remember, like a cake that you just, oh.
Oh, I don't know actually. Obviously, again, like we'll refer to the book when we talk about my
Sorry,
childhood.
let me bring back the book. Sorry. Yeah, context.
So we'll supply context now. Um, no, actually, no, not really. What I do remember is we would take holidays to Zeeland,
Uh-huh.
and they do Zeeuwse bolussen, and they are just the best. But we'll go and get them once and send pictures to Tony. But they are like a cinnamony, treacly, bread based
Uh-huh.
pastry, and they are,
Yeah. I will
especially
say,
when you get them fresh from the baker, obviously. But I think that's that's often the. And I was a pretty good baker when I was sort of a teenager 20. Like my mother once did a high tea for her, I don't know, closest
people.
friends. I don't know. There was like 60 people coming. And
Wow.
so I spent like 3 days baking for
Oh,
this high tea that she had decided to put on. And it was pretty impressive, if I may say
nice.
so myself.
Yeah.
Um, but I always say like I prefer cooking because cooking is a little bit more loose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would I would like people who are bakers to put it in the chat because I'm really curious to know how many people bake for stress relief and for fun and for people to actually connect with them because people love what they've made. And I sing in a quartet. And one of our quartetters often creates stuff for us. So uh, I normally sing on Wednesday afternoons, and so she'd bring this thing and go, could be good, could be bad. Let's just see. And we've got quite a
I
lot of
do.
food allergies, so she like comes up with some really crazy stuff.
We
It's
used to
great.
have a bake off in the office in a previous job I had, and every Friday someone would bake something because there weren't that many people in on a Friday.
Mm,
And we had like a French press, so we'd make like proper coffee and have whatever that week's person had baked.
mhm.
And it was like this little tradition. And some people got pretty competitive about what their bakes would be. But that was really fun because I think that's the thing with baking as well and with cakes is that it's something that is so much more fun to share with other people, right? Like I would never bake a cake and then just go and eat it by myself because that's, you know,
Yeah.
really sad. Um,
I had to put all the baking stuff away because I was like, I associate eating cake with bad food. And I for the longest time I would say baking's bad because then you're eating a lot of butter and stuff. And now I'm like, it is it associates with good memories. So, you know, and I would still go to the shop and buy something from there that is cakey. And I'm like, so why am I denying myself at home something that is, I'm not going to sit and eat a whole cake. Well, have I done that? Now I'm trying to
Let's
recall.
not answer that question on camera.
But but I think now so I went through this period where cake was bad because it was, it was all about
I
healthy
mean, we
eating
all go
and
through those periods.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
sure.
now I'm like, I'm so happy that we've kind of pulled it back into the wind because I missed cake and I want to enjoy it. And I was so happy, I was so sad that Patisserie Valerie shut down in the UK because I had one of my favorite cakes in there. So, it was a treat to go and have something like that. And it made me feel very happy and good and warm
But I
and so
think, and what we come back to then, because why we had started talking about cake with setting up shop was really about that idea of celebrating. And I think, like when we can connect it to positive things, but I also think like why it's so important to celebrate is because it helps us create milestone moments, right? Like we um because often we just, and especially I think within our business, we are, I especially, I don't know, but I think in general, it's too easy to say, okay, check that box, done, next thing, right? Like, and we don't sort of stop and say, oh my God, that I did that.
Yeah.
And
And
that was great. And it was, and this went well. And, and this is what I'm taking forward from it.
yeah.
And to just have those moments where we're like, hey, I did that. I created that. I put that out in the world. And to just have that little moment of celebration. And if you don't like cake, don't have cake. Sometimes I said to Tony recently, because he was like, go and have cake, because I had accomplished something. And I was like, is it okay if I just have like avocado toast? Because that's really what I want. And he goes, like, it feels like cake.
But yeah, and I think also we've sort of talked about women entrepreneurs. I had that perfectionism thing. So when I would finish something and it would be huge, I kind of go, oh, it's all right, and I couldn't feel satisfied that it was good. Like, so even remembering you're alive, I'm I was so hesitant about doing it because I'm like, well, am I actually going to get this done? Like, I really had hesitation. So I think the fact that we've brought in the element of a winning, something to celebrate the win, helps me also to get to the end and think, well, I've got cake now, so I must have done something good.
Must have been good, right? Like it's funny how we sort of Pavlov ourselves.
Yeah.
Not quite Pavlova ourselves, but close.